Empty, open. Stand by with the graphic. Lose it. Bring up the killer graphic. Cue the effect. Stand by. Cue up.
Welcome once again to another edition of Hometown Magazines. Again, for a second week, we're coming to you from the Buckham Fine Arts Gallery in downtown Flint, which is tonight the site of the final production of Helter Skelter, final performance of this production of Helter Skelter, let's say, because I wouldn't be surprised if this is merely the first of many productions. With us here are many of the cast and some of the crew of this production, and those of you who tuned in last week met most of them, but we're going to meet at least one new one and get to talk to people in a little more depth. The one person I think I should introduce first who wasn't with us last week is Mary O'Sullivan. Mary is one of the professional actresses who is part of this production. Mary, can you tell us a little bit of how you came to be involved in this production?
Well, I was sitting minding my own business at home, and a friend of ours, Cheryl, who's also in the production, was over, and she started telling me and my husband David about the show and how she had been working on it with her friend Betty, who's the playwright. And she said, "Oh, I'm going off to Flint for weeks." And we said, "Well, have a good time." And, enjoy Flint. And then a few days later, or a week or so, she came back to us again and said something about, "Well, this play is really going to happen this summer. We're getting it together. And gosh, I bet you guys would love to come to Flint, wouldn't you?" And we sort of looked at each other and we said, "Well, we'll think about that." And we just kept talking to her about it, and pretty soon we were making plans and getting our lives organized to be able to leave Los Angeles for 6 weeks and come out here and do this. And we had a couple of phone conversations with Betty and learned some more about the play, and we just said, "Okay, yes, we're in."
This is so much better than that trip to Sausalito you had planned. I mean,
right.
You know, this,
who needs Northern California?
That's right. Hey, tell us a little bit about your background. You are a professional, and one of the very few that's actually making something approaching a living in the business. How did you get into it, and what sort of work have you done?
Well, I got into it in 7th grade when a really nice teacher who I liked a lot said, "We're having play auditions. Why don't you come?" I said, "Well, what's that? What's the play?" And they called If Boys Wore Skirts. Kind of a futuristic sort of thing. This was junior high. So anyway,
sounds way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was very, very, very experimental theater for Iowa. Anyway, so that's, I guess, when I got hooked, or when I got the bug, and I just have been doing plays ever since. Then, you know, did a lot of school stuff, a lot of community theater. Then I branched into doing apprenticeships at like local professional theaters, of which there were only one. So that was the short start of it. And went to college, ended up moving to New York, getting my Actors Equity card there in New York. Didn't go back to college. Stayed in New York, and then started auditioning and doing regional theater. So I was based in New York for about 5 years, and then moved to Los Angeles. And since I've lived in Los Angeles, I've been doing mostly commercials. So my work for like the last 4 years could be summed up on about 3 minutes of videotape. So.
What is your character like in this production of Helter Skelter?
You be quiet. Her name is Yvonne. She is a woman who probably shouldn't be in a shelter because she has got some money and she's okay. Well, I'll say it. She's crazy. She's a very selfish person. She's annoying, I guess, basically, is her basic motivation and trait. And that's what a lot of people have been saying to me after the show. Like audience members, I get these great comments. Boy, were you annoying. Boy, you just really drove me crazy. God, I'd like to, you know. And I say, well, thank you very much.
That's a great compliment. You reached them.
Yeah, they fell for it. So, yeah, I guess my character, I mean, I could go all into my character history and what I've made up about myself, but she's really a woman who's got some mental problems, but she's not poor and she's not a street person. She's a person who's probably only been on her own for the last, like, 5 hours. And so rather than checking into a hotel and using all her credit cards, she somehow comes to this shelter, and she's there for, what do we see her, a couple of nights, and then she disappears. And who knows?
In terms of the production, what was it like working with this group of actors and actresses?
Very impressive. Very impressive.
What were the strengths of the cast, do you think?
Well, we're mostly dames here, and so we've been, you know, working on some female empowering stuff, and the men in the cast too. I mean, I want to include everybody when I say I'm really impressed with everyone's level of talent, and I don't want to qualify that by saying in Flint. I would say in general, you know. Everybody has really, I mean, I haven't found much difference working in this production than working in a production of entirely equity people, other than that I've been sort of more involved on the other side of the stage, you know, handling, producing kinds of things. That's sort of come along with it. But as far as acting and the stage work, it's been great. I mean, it's really... The thrilling thing is that this is a brand new show, and we're all getting to do all of these parts for the first time. And we're all creating these characters, and we're breathing so much life into this play that I hope it sticks and that it goes on.